Halo semua, nama saya Chris dan saya baru selesai S3 di Universitas Teknologi Sydney, University of Technology Sydney. Maafkan saya, kebanyakan video ini dalam bahasa Inggris karena saya masih belajar bahasa Indonesia. Ayo. So, what is the news media situation like in Indonesia? The first thing I want to talk about is where Indonesians get their news from, which news brands or which news sources. And the second thing is what news brands do they trust? And in general, do Indonesians trust the news? All the information that I'm talking about in this video is from the Digital News Report, and I've linked that report in the description below. There are digital news reports for many, many different countries. So in that report, you can find the report on Indonesia. So where do Indonesians go for their news? Maybe this is not surprising, but 83% go to some kind of online platform for their news. Out of that 84%, 64% is some kind of social media platform, and the rest is like a news website. And this is compared to people who say they get their news from more traditional media sources like TV and newspapers. 42% of Indonesians say they get their news from TV, and only 9% say they get their news from a newspaper. So when it comes to online news sources, what's the most popular? WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is the most popular. Maybe that's not surprising for you. 56% of Indonesians say they get their news from WhatsApp. And coming in at number 2 is YouTube. And YouTube generally is number 2 for many countries, including Australia. But in Australia, the number 1 is Facebook. Surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, X, only 10% of Indonesians say they go to X for news. I say it's surprising, maybe surprising, because in the past, lots of Indonesians used to use Twitter. Indonesia used to be one of the biggest Twitter-using countries in the world. The most common offline news source for Indonesians to get their news from is TV1 News, followed by Metro TV News and Kompas. For online news websites, the most commonly accessed is detik.com, followed by Kompas, followed by CNN Indonesia Online. So they're the main sources of news for Indonesians, but it's also worth pointing out that 37% of Indonesians say that they avoid the news. They try hard to not see the news. Now, do Indonesians trust the news? Most of them don't. So in Indonesia, 32% of people say that they trust the news. Now this is going down. A few years ago, in 2021, 39% said they trusted the news. So over the years, fewer and fewer people are saying that they trust the news. Now, the global average is 37%. So Indonesia is, as a country, Indonesians are on average less trusting in news compared to many other countries. But which news brands are the most trusted in Indonesia? It turns out the most trusted news brand is not an Indonesian-owned company. It's CNN Indonesia. This is followed by detik.com, Jawa Post and Kompas as the most trusted. So what do you think? Does any of this surprise you? Do you think CNN Indonesia is the most trustworthy news brand in the country? And another thing we have to remember with surveys like this is, what do people mean when they say they get their news from WhatsApp? And so this is not clear in this survey. People say they get their news from WhatsApp, but that could be their friends telling them something, or it could be somebody sharing a link from CNN Indonesia or something. So, do you get your news from WhatsApp? If so, is it just links to news websites, or is it just what your friends tell you? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening. Terima kasih.